give a test, you gotta mark it. Kids are all over you. When are you getting your test back? Shut up.
This school year, one of the most important questions that we need an answer is, how are we going to assess and grade our learners? Here's the answer to that question. The Department of Education issued DepEd Order No. 31 Series of 2020, or the Interim Guidelines for Assessment and Grading in light of the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan. So this will be the content of my video. Assessment and Grading for School Year 2020 to 2021. Planning the assessment, grading and promotion, the significant roles and responsibilities of the teachers, parents or guardians, and the learners. Feedback and remediation, conducting the assessment remotely. This interim guidelines consists of 256 pages, so we will focus only on the most important information about this guideline. It will provide guidance on the assessment of student learning and on the grading scheme to be adopted this school year 2020 to 2021. Let us first talk about assessment and grading. What are their differences? Now let us define assessment and grading. There are three types of assessment here. First is classroom assessment, formative assessment, and summative assessment. Classroom assessment is defined as an ongoing process of identifying, gathering, organizing, and interpreting quantitative and qualitative information about what learners know and can do. Next, formative assessment is defined as a process that involves teachers using evidence about what learners know and can do to inform and improve their teaching. In formative assessment, right after they did their activities, their outputs, we give immediate feedback to them so they will know what they did well and what they need to improve. We'll have some examples later for this classroom assessment and formative assessment. Lastly, summative assessment is defined as an assessment that is usually administered toward the end of a learning period to measure the extent to which the learners have mastered the essential learning competencies, the results of which are recorded and are used to report the learner's achievement. So here are my key takeaways. Number one is formative assessment isn't about grading, it's about learning. Through the use of this formative assessment, we can monitor students' learning. We can also provide ongoing feedback. As teachers, we can use this to improve our teaching. And as for the students, they can use this to improve their learning. The examples of formative assessment that we can use are the following: exercises or activities, reflections, journals, comprehension or processing questions, and graphic organizers, or any learning activities throughout the lesson aligned to the most essential learning competencies which have low stakes or low point value, but they will help in identifying the strengths and weaknesses of the learners. Number two key takeaway: summative test gauges students' comprehension of the material presented at the end of a particular unit of work and is often measured with a grade or percentage depending on the subject. Here are examples of summative assessment tools that qualify as performance tasks in various learning delivery modalities. This is an example for face-to-face learning, and the learning area is languages. Next, let's take a look at the example for modular distance learning or digital learning, TV, RBI, and homeschooling. Again, the learning area is languages. So we have here examples for written outputs, products, and performance-based tasks. Just a reminder, my dear fellow teachers, the given examples in the Annex B of the interim guidelines are not exhaustive or all-in. So we can use other appropriate tools specific to the assessment task. You may check Annex B of DepEd Order No. 31 Series of 2020 for the complete list of assessment tools in different learning areas. Earlier, we talked about the definition of assessment. Now let us define what is grading. Grading is the way of reporting assessment data by assigning a value to the results as a record of students' ability, achievement, or progress. Before I tell you about the grading and promotion and planning for assessment, I will first talk about the responsibilities of the learners, teachers, parents, or guardians. For this school year, the teachers have the following significant roles and responsibilities. First, teachers have to design the assessment to allow for flexibility in multiple modalities such as online learning, modular distance learning, blended learning, and so on. Second, communicating to learners and parents or guardians the design and standards for grading the assessment. Third, setting up mechanisms to monitor and record progress remotely. Fourth, giving timely, constructive, and relevant feedback. And lastly, facilitating remediation for learners who need further guidance. So these are our significant roles and responsibilities. For the learners, you are expected to be proactive in updating your teacher about your situation, progress, and challenges you might have encountered. You can also answer the self-monitoring tool that your teacher will give you, but a reminder, this is not required but highly recommended. This self-monitoring tool will help us to keep track of your academic progress. For parents and guardians, you play a crucial role in guiding your children in adapting to the changes of distance learning processes. So we are asking for your support and help to do the following. Communicate with the teachers to give updates on your child's situation, progress, and challenges they might have encountered. Guide your children in accomplishing the assessment task. Reminder, guide your children. You don't need to answer the assessment task for them. Now let's talk about one of the most important things about these interim guidelines, how to plan the assessment. As teachers, we know that in order to inform teaching and promote growth and mastery, formative assessment strategies should do the following. First, it has to establish clear learning targets and success criteria. Second, we have to elicit useful evidence of learning, provide timely and effective feedback, engage learners in assessing and improving each other's work, and increase ownership of their own learning. You may check Annex A of DepEd Order No. 31 Series of 2020 provides a matrix of sample techniques for each formative assessment strategy to evaluate student learning at particular points in each quarter. Summative assessments shall continue in the form of written works and performance tasks. Summative assessments in the form of written works, examples are quizzes, long tests, and unit tests. For the performance task, this shall allow the learners to show what they know and are able to do in diverse ways. We have to consider multiple intelligences and learning styles of the students. They may create or innovate products or do performance-based tasks. And the examples are skill demonstrations, group presentations, oral work, multimedia presentations, and research projects. It is important to note that written outputs may also be considered as performance tasks. You may check Annex B, which provides a list of sample summative assessments that fall under performance tasks for the purpose of this policy. Performance tasks must be designed to provide opportunities for learners to apply what they are learning to real-life situations. So we have to take into considerations the following. Each task must be accompanied with clear directions and appropriate scoring tools such as checklists or rubrics or rating scale. This will help the learners to demonstrate their learning. You may check out Annex C for the sample scoring tools. Teachers can also collaborate in designing and implementing performance tasks that may integrate two or more competencies within or across subject areas. You may check Annex D for sample integrative assessment tasks. And most importantly, learners must be given flexibility in the accomplishment of the performance task to consider time and resources available to them. We teachers must exercise our professional judgment in carrying out summative assessment, providing enough opportunities for learners to practice and to redo their work whenever necessary so that they can reach their learning targets with the least amount of pressure. Also, we should set realistic expectations and use our professional judgment to find a good balance between what is effective and what is feasible to accomplish remotely. My key takeaway here is let us give learning tasks which help the learners learn, and let us avoid giving tasks that might lead to learners' failure. Another important topic is the grading and promotion. The grading system implemented in this interim policy provides reasonable leniency to learners who are put to a larger disadvantage by the pandemic, but at the same does not compromise the integrity and principles of assessment and grading. Written works and performance tasks shall be administered to assess the content and performance standards that describe the knowledge, abilities, and skills that learners are expected to demonstrate. This task could be designed to include the following. It could be the student's learning portfolio, minimum of 4 written works and 4 performance tasks within the quarter, preferably 1 in 2 weeks integrating 2 or more competencies. And all competencies should be covered by the performance task. For example, a performance task can be used to assess science, math, and English all together for certain topics. For the current school year, quarterly assessment shall not be administered. Again, there would be no quarterly assessment for this school year 2020 to 2021. However, days allotted for quarterly assessments in DepEd Order No. 7 series of 2020 or the school calendar and activities for school year 2020 to 2021 may be used for the presentation of major performance for the quarter that addresses the performance standard. Quarterly exams were given a weight of 20% constantly in DepEd Order No. 8 series of 2015. Since it will no longer be a part of the grading system for this school year, its previously determined weight was distributed equally into written works and performance tasks, allotting an additional 10% for each component. This maintains an emphasis on performance tasks for some learning areas. Let us look at the given table for the weight distribution of the summative assessment components per learning area for grade 1 to grade 10. An example here is languages, AP, ESP, 40% for written works, and 60% for performance tasks. While for science and mathematics, we have 50% for written works and 50% for performance tasks. While for MAPE, EPP, TLE, we have 30% for written works and 70% for performance tasks. Now let's take a look at table number 2, the weight distribution of the summative assessment components for senior high school. Thank you for